Hey everyone, welcome back to Garnock Reviews. Today we're checking out a 2001 Nordic Tug 37. This one's up for sale with Zeigler Yacht Sales, and at the time of shooting the video she was lying in Jacksonville, Florida, and available for $279,000. This is a perfect boat for a couple looking to do some extending cruising, and these are one of the popular choices when it comes to doing the Great Loop as well. You've got that low air draft, you get comfortable accommodation inside, and an economical cruising range to boost. Now this particular example does not have a flybridge, and this is often preferred to keep that air draft low, but you do have space up here you can use for storage. You can use as sun lounger, you can bring up cockpit table and chairs, and you do have a bimini canopy cover over the top as well. I love how easy it is for single-handed operation. You have access not only at the helm but on both the port side as well. It's the first boat I remember being on. It's got rear view mirrors like your car does, but this is a great advantage when it comes to close quarter manoeuvring. And I love the layout on the bow. This has got that non-slip deck, but it's also got that on the coach roof as well. You could easily enjoy a glass of wine at anchor, and speaking of anchor, this one's got an electric windlass, and it's very easy to access the anchor locker in the forward cabin down below. And as I head aft, notice the amount of handrails, guardrails and handholds there are in place. It feels very safe and secure when you're walking along the deck. The decks are a little narrower than normal, but that's because this boat boasts almost full beam accommodation, which you'll see the advantage of in just a minute. She's got a length overall of 39 feet, she's got a beam at almost 13 feet, maximum bridge clearance of 11 feet, and a maximum draft of approximately 4 feet. I love the aft cockpit that's on this one. There's plenty of space out here to do a spot of fishing. You get a transom door that leads through to the bathing platform. This has got boarding ladders built into it. And you can also see we've got those brackets for mounting the tender to it as well. And as I close the transom door, you can see just how thick the hull is. This is a very solid and secure boat, especially for its size. And I like the fender storage that's integrated into the transom. You've got the Mercury outboard for the tender. You got solid ladders for climbing up onto that upper deck that I showed you a second ago. And underneath here we have got ample storage for gas for that outboard, as well as propane for the galley. And if you've been taking a swim, you might also benefit from having a hot and cold shower built into the aft cockpit. And then on the deck you'll find we've got a large lazarette. And down here we've got storage for all sorts of supplies, including extra ropes and fenders. It's great access if you ever need to service or repair any of the steering gear. And we also have a spare anchor down here as well. Before heading inside, I also like the overhang that you've got in the aft cockpit. It gives you great shade and protection. But we also have lights out here to keep it illuminated at night if needed. And all the doors have got this sliding magnetic mesh screen, which I think is a great way of doing it. That way you can let the fresh air in but keep the bugs out. And first impressions are always a big impact, and this one certainly doesn't disappoint. You've got so much headroom, it's so bright and airy with all those windows. The light colour materials also help. We've got an L-shaped seating area for the saloon, and there's storage underneath these seats, and that cockpit table drops down and this converts to a double berth. We've got a TV mounted in the port quarter, and then to starboard is where you're going to find the galley on board. For a boat of this size, I was impressed with how much counter worktop space you have. And we've got a 3-burner gas stovetop cooker and oven. There's plenty of space if you ever wanted to use something like a George Foreman or an air fryer or something like that for cruising. There's ample storage for all your plates, cups, glasses and more. And all the doors and drawers have got a very secure feel to it. That way you don't need to worry about anything getting damaged while the boat's underway. And as I make my way through this yacht, you'll see that it feels like the owners have got pride of place for everything on board. And I love how many areas in this boat have got labels and documentation. Gives you a sense that the boat's been well cared for and looked after. And for extended cruising, I like the fact that we've got both a fridge and a freezer on this one. And then even on the port side, next to the saloon, you see we've got additional storage here, with these sliding doors with shelves behind it. Moving forward into the wheelhouse, reminds me so much of a lot of the commercial fishing boats and workboats and tugs that I used to be on, but it just goes to instill that solid seakeeping quality you expect from this boat. I love the amount of space you have for working on charts and plotting your course. You can easily seat 2 adults here, but there's storage underneath the seat. There's even storage at the step as you come into the boat. And again, we've got those magnetic mesh screen doors for fresh air cruising. And at the chart table, we got a large drawer for keeping all your charts, logbook, stationery, and anything you need to have close at hand. And I love this folder that's sitting out. It's got checklists for everything you need to do as you set sail, as well as a number of recent service records as well. And to starboard is where you'll find the helm. This is extremely comfortable for long distance passage making. And speaking of long distance, this one does have the option of having the red light for night cruising. And again, as everything has a specific place on board, underneath here is where you'll find the medical kit, the fire extinguisher and emergency signals. You can see we've got fold up footrest, as well as a large AC vent. And I could personally spend hours sitting at this helm. Very comfortable with great visibility. You got a remote for the Raymarine autopilot, single lever Morse controls for the engine. You got full engine instrumentation. I'm not sure if you can make it out in the video, but this has got 3,448 hours on the clock. I got the bow thruster controls. And we got a very clear and bright Raymarine multifunction display unit. And next to that we've got the Raymarine speed log and depth, as well as the main autopilot controls itself. And up overhead we get the Raymarine VHF radio. We also have the stereo. You got the ship's clock. You got the generator control panel. And the generator currently has 848 hours on the clock. We got the barometer, we got more storage, and then again we've got more lights, which is great from an access point of view if you come in on the port side, or if you're working at the chart table at night. And at the steps that lead down to the lower accommodation, that's where you're going to find the main breaker panel on board. And I love how everything is clearly labelled. It's very easy to see what's been switched on and switched off, as well as having both the AC and DC controls. A couple of short steps down, and then in the port side is where you'll find the guest cabin. And if you wanted to or needed to, this cabin can also convert to almost like a bunk bed effect, using a Pullman bed configuration. There's storage underneath the bed. You also have this little nightstand with drawers, and then behind the door itself there's a hanging locker space. And then on the shelf we've got 2 folders here. Again, this is used full of documentation, service records, and everything you could ever need to know should you purchase this boat. And if we make our way to the bow, that's where you'll find the owner's cabin. The big thing for me with this boat was the headroom. I'm 6'2", and as I was walking through the boat I had no issues at all. There's got to be about 6.5 foot headroom in here. I love all the storage compartments. I like how it's got that large island berth. It's easily accessible from both sides. I liked how much storage there was in this hanging locker space. It's also illuminated as well. And it's a near symmetrical cabin where you've got storage on both the port and starboard side. And up overhead, not only do we have portholes, but we've got a large opening hatch. And again, this has got a screen cover on it, so you could open the hatch but keep all the bugs out. There's even storage drawers underneath the bed, and then we've got floor access if you needed to service or maintain the bow thruster. On the starboard side is where you'll find the heads compartment, and I like how this has got a separate toilet and shower. I always appreciate when a shower's got enough space where you could actually use it, especially if you're doing extended cruising. And there's a 150 gallon freshwater capacity on board. We also have an access panel that takes you to the wiring for the helm. And I love how clean and neat this is, as well as how detailed and labelled everything is. So if you ever wanted to upgrade the electronics on this one, it would be very easy to do so. And in the saloon there's an access hatch. And if we pop down below here, this lets you check out a lot of your tanks down below. You got all your safety equipment from your life jackets. You got your fuel supply where you can transfer it from port to starboard. And this boat's got a 350 gallon fuel capacity. You can see how clean the prop shaft is, how dry and clean the bilges are. I love the use of the old-fashioned sight lines on the tanks. And everything down here appears to be serviced and maintained on a regular basis. At the helm is the access to the engine room. And look at the access covers. Look how thick they are with both the heat and sound insulation. And you're looking at a Cummins. This is a 5.9 litre 6-cylinder diesel engine. Produces around 330 horsepower. Top end, this boat should hit around 17 knots, and she's designed to cruise at around 14 knots. And at cruising speed, you should comfortably reach somewhere in the region of 450 mile range. The generator itself is in a sound box for extra comfort, especially if you're running it overnight. And it's just a super clean, easily accessible engine room, especially for a boat that's over 20 years old. But as always, I'd love to hear your own thoughts and comments. If you could go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you haven't done so already, if you can hit that like and subscribe button, it really does make a difference. And as always, I look forward to catching you on the next one. Thanks everyone.